Okay, just a quick revision of what we have done yesterday. Yesterday we had we were talking about interfaces, and we said we explained it using a very simple example about the radio. We said an interface defines or the controls, what controls can be used for a radio, but exactly the operations that can be used for the radio, but does not specify how these operations or controls are implemented. Now, implementing this on Java, we said in Java interfaces define what methods should be used, but does not specify how these methods are implemented. Okay, and then to understand the benefits and usage of interfaces, we went through a program called Dataset, and we're going through it step by step, and this program is also explained in the PowerPoints and in your book, and I'm expecting you, of course, to read chapter 9. Okay, now what we have done yesterday, we have just declared a class called dataset that this dataset finds the average and maximum number of a set of numbers, and it had two constructors: an empty constructor that initializes the variables to zeros, okay, and another okay, and that's it. We also had the main method, the method that we were talking about, which is the add. The add method calculates the sum of the here it is, this one didn't. Okay, the sum calculates or stores each value added to the data set and sums them up, and then we calculate. Also in the same method, we calculate the maximum by having a variable called maximum. Each value entered to the dataset class is being stored in the maximum variable. Okay, if the new variable that's entered to the dataset is less than the already stored value in the maximum variable, the maximum is set to x. And the last line just counts the number of numbers that are being added to the dataset. Then we had a method that's called getAverage. In the getAverage method, we just divide the sum of numbers divided by the count. Okay. Now we said that we need to modify this dataset now for bank accounts. What if I want now to calculate the maximum and the average number of bank accounts that I have? Okay, so bank account is a class, so we need first to create the bank account class, and this is what we did yesterday. The bank account class has only one variable called balance. It has two constructors: the empty constructor, which initializes the balance to 0, and the field constructor, which takes a value for the balance, an initial value for the balance. And we also, like any bank account, we usually need to deposit money or withdraw money. So here we add the added amount to the balance in case of depositing. In case of withdrawing, we subtract the amount from the balance. Okay. And finally, we have a method that's called getBalance, which returns the value of the balance. I think that was clear. And then we went to test our dataset class by testing the dataset class for bank accounts right now. Okay, before that, we have modified the dataset class in order to calculate the maximum bank account. Instead of now having a variable that's called maximum that only stores values, now the maximum is of type bank account because I'm searching for the maximum bank account. The rest remain the same. And then when we came to the method add, we defined here X as type of bank account. Okay, and now when we add up the balances of different accounts, we call the method of getBalance from X. X is again an object of type bank account, and we're calling the method of getBalance. and it's added up to the variable sum. Now to calculate the maximum, we calculate how to calculate the maximum balance of each bank account entered. What we do is just each time we compare the balance of the maximum here with every new bank account entered. So maximum.getBalance, if this one is less than x.getBalance, then we set maximum to x. Finally, to return the maximum bank account, public bank account.getMaximum, now it returns the maximum of type bank account. Okay, now in order to test that, we created our test class with a main method. We created a new object of dataset ds equals new dataset. We're calling here the empty constructor. Okay. Now we're testing the dataset class for bank accounts. How to add bank accounts? We just said create a new object of bank account AC equals new bank account, and I'm using here which constructor, the field constructor that takes a value of 100, and then add the AC to the method of add, so ds.add a new bank account, which is the AC. These two lines can be summarized, of course, in one line, like ds.add right away new bank account 100. And then we add other bank accounts, 200, another, let's say, for instance, 300. Okay? And now we need to print the average bank balance of the bank accounts and the maximum bank account balance. How do we do that? For the maximum, we know that the dataset has a method called getMaximum. Do you recall that? Here, bank account, public bank account.getMaximum, it returns the maximum. The maximum is of type what? It's of type bank account. So when we go to the test class, we call ds.getMaximum, and we receive the returned output in a variable of type bank account. Now, so far we only have the object, but we need the balance of this maximum object, which is the maximum bank account. How do we do that? We call the method getBalance from AC2, because bank account has a method called getBalance. Okay, it returns a double value, and this is what we're calling here. So AC2 dot getBalance, and we store it in a variable called maximum balance. Now we can print it, system.out.println average is. For the average, there is no problem. We just call the ds.getAverage. It returns a value. Here we are. This is the dataset again. The average, it returns a double value, sum over count. And for the maximum, we have already calculated the max val. We write it down here, and we have tested our program like that, and it was here. Okay. So far everyone is following. Please check the mark, either yes or no. Yes. Okay, thank you. Now going back to the next step. Now what if I need to calculate the maximum and average of a set of coins? First we have calculated for a set of numbers, then for a set of bank accounts, and now for a set of coins. Again, what do we need to do now? Here, coin, so this is again an object. A coin usually has two important properties, or two important variables, which are the value of the coin and the name of the coin. So I'll make here a new Java class, and I'll just call it coin. I'm not including anything here, and then let's finish. Okay. The value of the coin, it will be private double value. Okay. And for the name of the coin, it will be private string name. Okay. Now, again, I need a method. I need a constructor for this coin. So I need a constructor that initializes the value and the name at the same time. Anyone can contribute here? Anyone? If you have a mic, you can use it. Anyone can contribute? or you just can write it on the chat. How do I write a constructor for coin? Okay, this is Aisha. How do I write a constructor? Okay, if you find it hard to write it down, you can use your mic. If you don't, then I will just go ahead. This is how we write the constructor. You already know that, coin. And we put the bracelets. Okay, it must have the same name as our class. Again, as we said before, the constructor constructs any object that is being declared of the type class, and it initializes the values. So in our case, I need to initialize the value and name. And here we have value. So let's say double val and string n. And here I will be just saying value equals val and n name equals n. Think any problems? Okay. So what else do we need here? I need also a method that returns the name of the coin and another method that returns the value of the coin. So I'll call it get name. And since it is a method that returns the name of the coin, which is of type string, then the output will be of type string. Here we are. And it will just return name. That's it. Another method to return the value of the coin. So again, it will be here called get value. And since this method returns the value of the coin, which is of type double, then the return type here is of type double, and we'll return here value. I think we're done that way. We don't need anything else. Now let's test it. Before we test it, do you remember what's the requirement? The requirement is I need to calculate the maximum and the average for a set of coins. Okay, so now we created our coin class. We're going back now to what? To the dataset class. Now I need your contribution by writing on the chat. This is very important, huh? This is our dataset class. So modify the class. I'll now modify the class to get max and average coins. Okay. So now the maximum, I need to define a variable called maximum. Is it now of type bank account or of what type? Just write the type on the chat. Private what? Private what? Okay, girls, you need to contribute more. This is essential for me. I need to understand and to know that you are following. Can you hear me? Can you all hear me? Check the mark, please. Okay. If I need, what should be the type of maximum now? If I want to calculate the maximum coins, write on the chat, please. Yes. Thank you, Bush. Yes. So here we are. It will be private coin maximum. Okay. Now, what else do we need to modify here? This is the data set. This is the constructor, no problem with it. Now we come to what here? To the method that's called add. Now this one has been for the bank accounts. Now how do we modify it for the coins? I will just dim that. Okay, public void bank. Now, what do we need to modify here? Instead of bank account, we write coin, and instead of x.getBalance, we don't have this method getBalance in coin. Do you remember how to return the value of the coin? Okay, it was getValue. We don't have getBalance, so we go back to the dataset class and we say it's getValue now. Okay, here we are, and then the maximum is of type coin. This is what we have defined here. The maximum is of type coin, and now we're comparing what with what. We're comparing the getValue here of maximum with the getValue of the object x, which is of type coin. Alright, so if the coin, I have forgotten the brackets, so if the value of the new coin that's entered here of type, the new coin x, which is of type coin, is greater than the value already stored in maximum, okay, then maximum equals x, and then the count plus plus, the average is the same. We don't need to change anything. Now, what about the get maximum? It returns the maximum is of type what? Coin. So we write here public coin get maximum. Okay. So far, everyone is following. Check, please. Everyone's following. Okay, perfect. Now we go to the test here, and we do the following. Now testing the dataset class for coins. Now this is what I was expecting 1 second ago here. Now we have errors. Why? Because we have dimmed everything that's related to bank account here in our dataset. You see, there is nothing of type bank account anymore here. So when we go back to our test, we need also to dim this part to avoid the syntax errors. Now testing the dataset class after modifying it for coins. How do we do that? Easy. Coin. Now we create new. C equals new coin. Okay. Now the coin takes what? Do you remember? Do we have an empty constructor in coin? Do we have an empty constructor in coin? Huh? No, we just have a field constructor. So we go back here to our test. We need to provide it with two values. Here, the value of the coin and the name of the coin. Okay, so here we go. Let's say this coin is a quarter, 0.25, and since this is 0.2505, then it's a quarter. Okay, now what do we need to add? We already have created here a dataset object. It's called ds, so I need just to say ds.add. What do we need to add? The c, which is of type coin. Again, we can do this part 2 lines in one. So this is what we're doing, just like that here. Okay, and let's add one more coin, or maybe 2. Here we are, 0.1, this will be a dime, and finally 0.05, and this will be a nickel. Okay, now anyone has an idea where the problem is now? Okay, let's check. This is good. Is undefined double string. Aha, this is double string. What have we done it here? Coin. Okay, maybe this one is not saved. Coin. Okay, let's go to our test. C equals new coin. Okay, ds dot add. Something is wrong here with the ds. Let's check it. Add the coin. So we go back to the test class. Okay, actually there was no error. I just forgot to save. Okay, so here we are. Everyone is following. Everyone is following. Okay, perfect. Now what I need to do is just to print it. So system. I'll just take it from here. What do I need to print, girls? I need to print the maximum and the average. Again, how do I get the maximum now? Okay, I know that ds returns something called, has a method that's called maximum, and as you see here, it has a method called maximum, so we call the get maximum method, and the return type is of type coin. Here we see it. So I'm receiving this in an object called C2 of type coin. C2 is my maximum coin. Now what's the value of coin of this C2 and what's the name? C2. We'll be writing here system dot out dot print line. Okay, maximum max coin value. Okay, plus C2 dot get value and max. Okay, maybe we do a backslash n here. Max coin name. Okay, you remember what was the method? It was called C2 dot get name. Here we are. And finally, slash n. Okay. Average coin. Where do we call the average from? I need an answer here. Okay. I need an answer. What's the average coin? How do we get it? The average method is defined where? In the dataset or in the coin? Huh? In the dataset or in the coin? We get average method. Write in the chat room, please. We need to do what? It's ds dot get average. And what's the dataset again here? The dataset returns here the average of the coins that are entered each time in the add method. Now we can test it. Here we are. We just push the play button, and here max coin value is the quarter. Yes, this is true. Okay. The max coin name. Okay, we have forgotten something here. No one has recognized it. Now this is the get name. This is the value. The value, it needs to be here, get value, not name. Okay. So again, we run our file. Max coin value is 0.25. Its name is quarter, and the average coin is 0.1625. Any questions so far? Any questions? Okay, mark the X please if you don't have any questions. Okay. Now, if you notice what we have done so far, for each time we need to calculate the max and average for any object, for anything, we need to modify the data set. So does this make sense? Each time we modify the data set? No, actually. And here comes the benefits of interfaces. Here comes the benefits again of interfaces. How is that? Now we can switch now to our PowerPoint. Here we are. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, the algorithm for the data analysis service is the same in all cases. Again, the concept is always the same, but what's usually the difference in each time we modify the data set? It's the type of measure we are using. Sometimes it's just a number, sometimes it's a bank account, sometimes it's a coin. So the measurement here only differs, okay? Now classes, what's the solution for this? We can agree as classes, could agree on a method called getMeasure. Here we are, this getMeasure, that obtains the measure to be used in the analysis. So what we need to define is a method that's called getMeasure to define what measure are you using. Is it bank account? Is it coin? Is it just a number? Okay? And then we can implement a single reusable data set. One data set for everyone. A single reusable data set whose add method, the add method which calculates the maximum and the sum of the values and also the count, looks like this. Sum equals sum plus x dot get measure. Okay, so x is the object that we have. I'll just ignore the x now, but I'm focusing now on get measure. What's the get measure? This again method defines what measure are we using, and then the maximum. So sometimes it's, if you remember, in the dataset class here, you remember the first time it was a get value. In the second time here, so the dataset, when we modified it for the bank account, it was get balance, okay, and for the coin it was get value. So each time we have, why not we unify this and we say just get measure, whatever is the measure. Okay, are you following up to this point? Following? Okay, perfect. So if we continue here, we'll say count equals 0 to maximum dot get measure less than dot x dot get measure, then maximum equals x. Now so far we all agree on this concept. Now I have a question. What's x here? Now there is a problem with x. If you remember, x was sometimes a coin, sometimes it was a bank account, and sometimes it was a number. So how do we define each time what x is? Okay, I have an answer here. So what is the type of the variable x? X should refer to any class that has a getMeasure method. So we'll make x very generic. X will just refer to any class that has the getMeasure method. Okay, so it is a measurable object. We know that bank accounts can be measured using their balances. We know that coins can be measured using their coins. We know that, for instance, what else? The height of people can be measured, okay, using their height, etc. Okay, so in Java, an interface type is used to specify the required operations. So now to conclude, what we need to do now, I'll just write an interface, okay, that specifies the method called getMeasure. Okay, now if any object now wants to be we want to add, for instance, as we did in our example, wants to calculate the maximum and the average of any class, then this class has to be measurable. Okay, how do we do that? We just declare something called interface, called measurable, and we define here the method. I need you to concentrate on this part step by step. Here I'm going to my program again, and I'll go here and say new. Now I don't need a class anymore. I need an interface, and it will be called measurable. Okay, here, say finish. Now, can you please focus on this declaration? We don't have the keyword class anymore. We have it. It's called interface. Okay, and again, it's public like exactly any class we define, and it has a certain name. Interface. In this interface, we will define the method that's called getMeasure. GetMeasure here. Okay, and this measure will return something of type double, because sometimes it's, as we said, sometimes it's value, sometimes it's get balance, as this case was with bank accounts, and sometimes it's again value with the numbers. Okay, so here we put a semicolon. Now, what's the difference here? Can anyone tell me so far what we have done? Now, double gets measure, and then we did the semicolons. Where is the method? Where is the body of the method? There is no implementation. Okay? Here, there is no implementation in interfaces. We just tell, the interface just specifies the name of the method that needs to be called, which is getMeasure, and that's it. Now, how this method is implemented, it depends on the class that's implementing it. So in case of bank account, the getMeasure will return balance. In case of coin, it will return value, and we'll see it right now. Okay, do you remember again when we said in Java software, or in Java in general, Java interfaces define which methods, okay, should be used, but does not specify how these methods are implemented. So this is what we are exactly doing here. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Please mark the no, okay? And yes, do we have question here? What about, yes, Aisha? Aisha, and who else have a question? And Mourouj, yes, please tell me your question. What's the question here? Is the right mark means you have a question or don't have a question? Mourouj, can you hear me? Okay. Do you have a question? Mourouj, do you have a question? Because you marked yes. No so far. Okay, then mark no, please, when I say if you have questions, okay? Right. Now, what shall we do? I need to see how this interface now is being used. Now, rule one, if going back to our data set now, I need this data set to only to be one, used only once for any object like bank account or coins. Okay. Now, rule one, for bank account or coin, we agreed that instead of each time we say here, sometimes it's get balance, sometimes it's coin, it's get value. Why not we say it's get measure? Now, where is the usage of the interface here? This is what we'll be doing now. Now, in the bank account class here, rule one will say that bank account is using this interface measurable. It implements measurable. Okay, now this is rule one. Now I need the bank account to be measurable. It implements, so we use to use the interface measurable. So how do we do that? We use the keyword implements and we call the interface measurable. Now as you can see here, an error occurs right away. Now we come to rule two. Once a class implements an interface, it has to implement or to provide implementation for the method defined in this class, in this interface. What was the method in interface? It was getMeasure. As you see, it's just a signature but doesn't provide implementation. Who will provide the implementation? The bank account class. Now let's see the error here. The type bank account must implement the inherited abstract method measurable.getMeasure. So we have to implement it here. So we go back down here. Now I will dim that part. I don't need the get balance anymore here. Okay, and we'll say public double get measure. Okay, Here we are, and we return the balance. Any questions? You see what we have done here? We have taken the same signature here in measurable. By the way, it's always public. The methods in interface are always public. If you do not write the public keyword, it's by default public. Okay. So public double get measure. We use the same signature, double get measure. Here we go in the bank accounts. Double. Okay, and now we provide the implementation. What do you need to return? I will return here the balance. What about in the case of coin? We'll go here to coin, and again the same steps again. Implements, public class implements, measurable. Okay, now right away we need to go in the class and implement the method. Since we have implemented the interface, we need to provide implementation for the method. Here the get measure. Now what do we need to return in this case? We need to return the value of the coin. Okay, now I stop at that point to ask you, are you all following? Are you all following? Okay, we're going step by step. Okay, perfect. So what we need to do now is, I need now to test. How do we do that? I need now to go to the data set first and do my modifications. Now, here, this is my main method, my method here. Now, instead of each time saying bank account and sometimes coin and sometimes it's double, no, the maximum now is of type measurable, which is the interface. Okay, now focus on this point. What have we done here again? We defined the maximum now of type measurable. Who is measurable? We have bank account is measurable because it implements measurable. We have also coin is measurable because it implements the measurable interface. So if you go now to the data set and we say maximum is measurable, okay, so it can be either coin or bank account or anything else that implements the measurable interface. Now we go here, and instead of saying now this one, each time we have changed the value of coin, sometimes it's bank account, sometimes it's coin, sorry, of X. So we call it here now, it's now the X should be measurable again. You can see here that there is a different icon. This is an I, stands for interface. If any other class, it will be C. Okay, so measurable. Now, what was the method of measurable that returns the value or whatever? What's it called? I need an answer, please. An answer? Is it get value? Is it get balance? Or is it what?
Michelle, can you hear me?
Who's talking now?
I'm Dalan.
Yes, what's the method on that?
Get measure.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so it is get measure. Okay. Why get measure, girls? Because we have already defined the get measure here in bank account and in coin. Okay, it is implemented. Okay, and here and in the data set, X is of type measurable, and who is measurable now? Coin is measurable and bank account is measurable, and all implement, and both of them implement the method get measure. Here we are, and instead of now get value, it will be get measure here, and same wise here. Okay, that's it. And we don't need to do anything else but that one. What's the maximum type now? It is not coin, it is not bank account, it is anything that is measurable, which can be either coin or bank account. Okay? So there is something here. Okay, what is that? Is undefined for the type measurable. Just a second. X dot get measure. Okay. Maximum dot get measure. Okay. Now I will dim that part here, the one of the coins, that one, and what we need to do now is to test. Okay, I think we have from here. Now we're ready to test. So how do we test it? Okay, I have already written, because of the time, another test file here. So I'll just remove that part. Okay. Now, what do we need to do right now? We need to do the following. First, I need to test the measure interface. Now, I'll be writing here, or I'll be saying here some important notes with you. Now, we said what's the difference between measure, the interface, and the class. It's actually, it looks the same. However, there are basic differences, and here we are. Okay, all methods and interface type are abstract. They don't have an implementation. This is the first point. All methods and interface are automatically public, and interface type does not have instance fields. So we do not declare instance fields in these interfaces unless they are static. This is an additional info for you. If they are static, it's okay. If not, then you cannot put, for instance, double value. No, it has to be static, okay? Now, what else? So, we cannot make, I will add this here, point. We cannot make an instance between brackets or object of interfaces. And here I'm showing this to you. Now, measurable m equals new measurable. Okay, I'll show it to you here. This is how we create objects, right? Now, what's the problem here? Here we are. Cannot instantiate the type measure. You cannot create an object of it. So an error occurs as you cannot instantiate an interface. This is first rule. This is fourth rule. Now, can we say measurable m equals new bank account? Yes. Why is that? This is okay because a bank account implements the interface measurable. So in other words, a bank account is a measurable. Okay. Now, the second thing, measurable m2 equals new coin. Is that okay? Yes, of course it is okay because measurable, because the class coin implements the interface measurable. Now, If I make any other class now, here, like here for instance, that's called rectangle. This is just a class, okay? And it does not implement the measurable. If we go back to the test, and I say measurable M3 equals new rectangle, an error again. What's the problem here? Rectangle, it would tell me rectangle does not implement, cannot convert from rectangle to measurable. Why? Because rectangle does not implement the interface measurable. Okay? So I'll just, are we all following up to that part? Are you all following? Okay, perfect. Now I need to test my data set now. Here we are. So I will test it. You see, it's written once. Here we are here, and I will test it once for the bank data, and the other, in the other case, for coin data. So data set bank data equals new data set. Here we are. So bank data. Now, do you remember what the what the method add takes? Here, bank data.add, it takes what in the dataset class? Here, it takes measurable. And since we said that any object that implements, any class that implements the interface measurable can be taken here as input, so we go to test, and I'll just say new bank account, and it will be okay. We already said here. This is exactly as I'm saying, measurable M equals new bank account, and I'm passing here what? Girls, I'm passing here the M, so it's the same, okay? There's a bracket, extra bracket. Now, I just call it M2 because we already have declared M, okay? Now, another bank account, 1,000, and a third one, the 10,000, and the third one is 2,000. So what did we expect here? What's the problem here? Okay, it's M2, let's say M3. Okay, now we need to print the average balance. So bank data.getAverage, we have no problem. How do we print the measurable, the maximum? We just call, this is very important now. Of course, we are expecting if this is 10,000 and this is 2,000, then the balance, the average will be 4,000. And now the measurable, the get balance, the get maximum. Bank data.getMaximum, the get maximum returns something of type what? Of type measurable. Here we are, dataset. The get maximum returns something of type measurable. Okay, going back to the test. So system.out.println highest balance max, which is of type measurable, dot get measure. Why is that? Because max can be a bank account, again can be a coin, can be anything. All they both implement the interface. So we just call the get measure method here. And what else? What do we expect? Of course, the maximum will be 10,000, and that's it. So let's test it here, please. Okay, before we test it, we could also do the same for coin. Now, dataset, we haven't done any modification now. Dataset coin data equals new dataset. Add the new coins, and then again we can add new coins. Why? Because coin is of type measurable. Not of type, it implements measurable. So here we can print the average, and then again coin data.getMaximum. Okay, and max again is of type measurable. Here you see it's of type measurable, and we print max.getMeasure. We're just doing the same exact steps, but each time for different objects, given that these classes or objects implement the interface. And now we can run. Here we are. Can you see the output here? Testing the bank account class, testing. Okay, here testing the coin, testing the bank account class. It's 0 to 100. The first one is the average, and okay, the 200. And now, where are we? Just a second, please. Okay, because testing, I run it again because this is the coin. Where is the bank account? Here, the bank account. So I'll just here system.out.println. Okay, \n. Okay, testing, because it shows different parts of the testing class. Here we are. Now I need you to focus only on that part here. Okay, the first one was for the bank accounts. If you see here, we had two bank accounts. One is for 10,000 and one for 2,000. The average is 4,000 here, and the highest balance is 10,000, and this is what we have expected. Now for the coin, the average coin value, we had 3 coins. Here we are, 0.25, 0.1, 0.05. So the average is 0.13. The highest coin value is 0.25, and this is also what we have expected, 0.25. Okay. Now, are we all following? Are we all following? Okay, perfect. So now, going back to the PowerPoint. Now we have went through all that. An important point here, a class can implement more than one interface type. So let's say bank account implements the measurable interface, and then there is another interface called, for instance, whatever, X, then it can implement another interface. So let's say, for instance, say here, I can create another interface like that called, for instance, X, okay, and then if I want to bank account to implement that interface as well, so I will just write here measurable, comma, okay, X, whatever any other interfaces do I have here, okay, just separated them by comma. Now, and if it implements more than one interface, it must declare all the methods that are required by all interfaces it implements. Also, we have went through that. Okay, this is important. Now, a bank account, this is the bank account, this is the coin, and this is data set. Both bank account and coin are measurable, so this relationship defines itself is a relationship here. So the dotted arrow here denotes is a relationship, so a bank account is an interface, is a measurable, and coin is a measurable. And for the data set, it uses the relationship, this relationship, okay? It uses all that. Do we understand this point? Now, what's the main usage here? That now the data set is decoupled from bank account and coin. What does that mean? That now, not as we did in the beginning, each time we modify the data set for the bank account and for the coin. Now it is separate for them, and we just use the interface measurable. Now we have done that as well. These are self-checks. Okay. Now we have also seen how we convert between class and interface. There is no problem if we can say coin, whatever is dime equals new coin, and measurable X equals dime. Same goes for the bank account as well, because both implement measurable. Okay. And we have seen that as well here. Variable of class and interface type. So a variable has type bank account. Let's say account is of type bank account, so it refers to the bank account. Mass is of type measurable. It also refers to the object bank account, given the bank account implements measurable. Okay, that's it. Now we're coming to our assignment. Before we end this session, do you all have any questions? Any questions? Do we understand interfaces now? Okay. Type. I think what you need to do right now is I need you to really practice on this code at home. You have all the source code, you have your book. Now, number one in the assignments, and I will write it down here for you in order not to forget it. Here. Let's see. Okay, this is the assignment. Number one, I need you to read chapter 9. So this is very important for next face-to-face session. I'll read it all. Now read rest of slides. Okay, you will in the next face-to-face session, if you have any questions for the rest of slides, we will be answering them, and we'll be doing some small programs to explain the rest. Okay, the rest, by the way, is not much. The main part was the interfaces. The rest of the slides are based on the interfaces, so don't worry. Okay, so read the rest of slides. Read chapter 9. Okay, and can you see the number of exercises in your Blackboard system? Can you see the exercises? Can you see the exercises? I know not every one of you have bought the book, so it's not yet assigned. I mean, you don't have the links, but you can see at least the exercise number, right? I need, in the weekly instructions, girls, I need feedback here. Can you see the assignments? Someone said no. Okay. What I will be doing, so also for next face-to-face session, assignments, the assigned tasks on Blackboard are required for next face-to-face. Okay? So I think I can stop recording right now.